Yeah, hello and welcome to a new episode of our weekly Spielworxx chat. My name is Uli Blennemann. I'm having a guest today who has won more awards than I'm active in this gaming industry in years. And you know, I'm in this industry since about 1950s. So you see what this means. And it is the wonderful Elizabeth Hargrave. So welcome, Elizabeth. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well, thank you.
This is good to hear. And before we two met, Elizabeth, for the first time, I think at Essen 2019, I had listened to the Five Games for Doomsday episode with you. And what really impressed me was that you are one of these persons where you can guess, you feel that that person is smiling even without seeing that person. I think this is truly a gift. So I like this a lot. So, but let
Thanks.
us let us start with some personal background of you first, Elizabeth. So, who is the person Elizabeth?
Oh, that's a good It's a broad question. I live just outside of Washington, D.C., and I first moved here, 25 years ago to work for the government, um, but became a consultant. I did a lot of research on healthcare issues, and then in my spare time, I like to spend a lot of time outdoors. I'm a birder and a mushroom hunter and just general outdoorsy person. I like to go camping a lot. I have a big garden.
That's
Uh,
wonderful.
yeah.
That's really nice. And by the way, hello, Rainer. I'm seeing you in the chat here. So, and by the way, if you have any comments or questions, please put them in the chat window, and we may even respond. So, yeah. So maybe. But you may also find Elizabeth at this place. So I'm posting the URL to your website here quickly
Great.
for people. So if you want to know more about Elizabeth, her games, and some of her many interviews, you'll find all that info on that website. Um, Regarding games, so far you've designed three games. So you've designed Wingspan plus European expansion plus Oceania expansion plus Swift Start promo pack. Then you did Tassi Massi by Button Shy and the new Mariposas by or for Elderac. I think everybody knows Wingspan. So if not, shame on you. But please tell us something more about Tassi Massi and, of course, on the brand new about Mariposas.
So Taskmaster is a little 18 card game for Button Shy, which all that Button Shy publishes as a publisher is 18 card games. They come in these little wallets, which are super
Yeah,
portable.
I'm bringing. Sorry to interrupt
Actually,
you.
in Europe, I think they.
I'm
Oh,
bringing up
oh,
a
you're bringing.
photo right here. Sorry, so everybody can see Tassi Massi here. Probably you can't, but everybody else can see this. So it's a smallish thing here.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for
It's
interrupting.
gotten picked up actually by a couple of European publishers who are putting it in a small box. So I think there's a Dutch version and Spanish. The Spanish one's in a wallet. Anyway, it's a game that I designed in the summer of 2018 when I was done with Wingspan and it was at the printer.
Yeah.
And there was a design contest, so I designed it basically in the month between when they announced the contest and when it was due. And it's an I Split You Choose game
Okay.
about giving people flowers. Um, and it was inspired by this phenomenon that happened in Victorian times when people became very interested in assigning meanings to different flowers. And apparently, you could get whole dictionaries of what it would mean if you gave someone a rose versus a tulip versus a carnation. And um, and so the game sort of plays off of that. Each of the 18 cards has a different way that it scores, and you're offering the person next to you one face up and one face down. They have to decide which one they want and which one you get back. But the value of the different cards may be very different depending on what else you already have collected. So there's a lot of like, are you showing me the thing that you want me to take because you want
Mhm.
the thing that's face down, or
Mhm.
are you hiding the thing that's better for me, so I should take the
Mhm.
face down card? There's a lot of I know that you know that I
Mhm.
know.
Interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my attempt. There are so many different ways to try and squeeze more game out of 18 cards, right? And so my attempt was this sort of the psychology of the hidden
Mhm.
information
Mhm.
and trying to figure out what someone's trying to get you to take and what you actually should take. So
Mhm.
that's Tussie Mussy.
Tosimasi. And publishers, if you are out there and if you see there is a language edition that hasn't already picked up, so get in touch with Elizabeth, please. Okay. Mariposas.
And
So,
my
yeah.
Yeah. So Mariposas is a game that was inspired by the migration of monarch butterflies, which is a species that spreads out all over eastern North America in the summer, but spends the winter in this very, very small region of Mexico, like 14 mountainsides of this one state of Mexico, two, I guess. But so I knew I wanted the butterflies to move around on the map.
Mhm.
That was sort of the inspiration. So your butterflies, there you play over 3 rounds that are each a season. You go start moving north from Mexico in the spring and have some goals about making more butterflies and spreading out. In the summer, you're really like covering the map, trying to get as many butterflies out as you can. And then in the fall, the biggest goal that'll get you the most points is to get a bunch of butterflies back to Mexico because you have
Wonderful.
to keep the cycle going. Yeah.
And here because I did my research, so at BGG at least, I'm not sure if they are up to date, but I didn't saw a German edition of this game. Is this forthcoming, or why is there right now no German language edition? Or
So
has
Alderac is doing their own German edition. They didn't
ah,
license it out to another publisher.
so this is a change
I
for
think
Elder.
it's out. I think they had it ready to go for Essen.
Okay, so yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
Alderac website at Spiel Digital, and I even
Uh-huh.
saw, but this was English language. I saw Stella
Uh-huh.
from Australia streaming that game. That was directly
Mhm.
at Thursday morning, and it looked beautiful. So the production
Yeah.
definitely has a very nice table presence. And it's the same thing here too. Publishers, if you see there is a language edition, please get in touch with Elizabeth. And before we go to a different topic, I have to respond here briefly to the chat. So, Matt Wolf, designer Matt Wolf, hello Matt, is
Hi,
saying,
Matt.
so Elizabeth is designing a mushroom foraging game for Spielworxx. No, I don't think so. No.
Not for Spielberg's, but I would like to do one someday.
You see,
That's
how you
definitely
see
on
it,
my
it's
list.
so half true, half true.
It
Um,
probably won't be a war game.
no, and I think it's better that way. um, But however, we will talk mainly today about something different about diversity in gaming. So, Elizabeth, you are doing games for wives, right? This is what you're doing. This is correct.
Someone said that to me at Essen last year.
Yep.
Slightly differently, but I mean, it wasn't my intention, but I think I may have accidentally stumbled into doing it. Because I do get a lot of notes from people who say, my girlfriend or my wife usually isn't interested in board games, but they'll play Wingspan. Like, thank you so much. I got one of those for Mariposas also. Like, um, so I don't know. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people find their gateway into the hobby with different games, but I do have a theory that the fact that the vast majority of board games have traditionally been designed by men, mostly European men
Yes.
historically, um, could be affecting like what those games are about and how they play, and that could unintentionally be skewing like who likes to play them because they've probably been designed and play tested mostly by European guys.
Yes. I agree. And last year at the Great Tabletop Network Conference, you had a wonderful presentation of this topic. And you did your own research on Facebook groups, and I found this very, very interesting. So, for example, at Stonemeyer's Facebook group for thighs, there were just 9% of women included, whereas for wingspan, there were 33%. And in most Facebook groups, according to your research, there are only about 10% women at all. So
For
you
a lot of the
see.
like highly ranked games on BGG, yeah, some of the more general interest groups can are more in the 25 to 30% range, but yeah, it's definitely not 50-50.
Yeah, but why is this? Why is this in your opinion? And do gaming motivations vary by gender? So is this maybe that I'm coming to the gaming table with a completely different motivation than you maybe? Or why is this in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think there could be a lot of reasons. I think there's a set of reasons that are almost purely historical.
Hmm.
That like gaming communities have been very male since the 80s or when, longer, and that just feeds on itself, and
Yes.
the communities sort of stay in that same demographic niche unless they actively try to break out of it. Um, you're talking about the gaming motivations. There was this survey that's still online. You can still take it. It went viral a couple of years ago. Everyone was posting their little graphs of
Hmm.
what their personal gamer profile was. And it has all of these different things like how competitive are you? Like, do you
Yeah.
really like games where you're attacking someone? I forget what some of the other uh, parameters are. But Quantic Foundry, the company that does this survey, has published some of their data broken out by gender, and they did find that there are differences in the things that really motivate people to play games. And men are more likely to say that they really enjoy that, like, direct
Yeah.
competitive, aggressive style of gameplay. Women are more likely to say that they enjoy cooperating in a game, or
Hmm.
that they're just playing for sort of the social fun side of games more than the competition. Um, so yeah, that's out there. It's certainly not like all women like this one thing and all men like this other thing. There's a lot of overlap in both
Hmm.
directions, but on average, there are some differences.
Yeah, and I see this over here as well. So it's definitely not only in the U.S. or in several in some countries. I see it all over. So and um, so as you already said, so I'm coming to this hobby from my wargaming side. And nowadays I'm mainly playing Euros, but I started as a wargamer. And in Germany here we have since the 80s a wargaming convention, and what is interesting that probably since about 2000s, so there were hardly any women attending this convention because of course these games are mainly very competitive, and they are it's not low conflict, it's always aggression and aggression. So this has changed a little bit in the last couple of years, but still women when they are entering the room, some guys are looking up and thinking it is still, are they just here by accident, or is this a wrong door, or do they want to play? So I also think in some environments it's not really welcoming. So it's not that
Right.
that it really you come in, oh great, wonderful, let's play a game. So it's so it is probably also one of these reasons. But Elizabeth, you mentioned that you maybe accidentally do games for women. So we already were touching on this. So if yes, why? So because of these low conflict games or because of the graphics? So please tell us something more about this.
I'm definitely a low conflict gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think maybe subject matter, maybe graphics, although I have nothing to do with the graphic design of the games, really. Stonemaier really for Wingspan handled almost all of that and sort of, got some rough sketches and ran them by me, but I didn't like request changes really because I liked the direction they were going in. And Mariposas, I did a little bit of back and forth with the art director there, trying to think of like how do we make a butterfly game that looks different from the other butterfly games, and we just decided to go with like those bright like Central American colors of like the really vibrant pastel colors, and sort of a sugar skull look a little bit with the board. But yeah, I don't know what else. Like I don't know if there's something special there. I just and maybe there isn't. Maybe it's like me as an individual more than anything. But I think that we won't know more. 20 years from now, people will
Yeah.
study it and be able to say. But right now,
Yeah, but
it's hard to really make any broad generalizations because there have been so few successful games by women that people are playing regularly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And what is astonishing is that how different the Stonemaier games look like. So is this, and I think, and Jamie is no dummy, that this is really done to cater to the target audience. So if you see the Wingspan, it's bright colors, it's really beautiful, and not only for women. I'm not saying this. I love the color scheme there. But if you see Thighs again, because we mentioned that game earlier as well, so it's completely different. It's dark. And you actually, I even think that the size graphics are not really well handled by Jamie. Forgive me, Jamie, because it gives. You are thinking that this has to be. That there's always combat in this game, that it's a really aggressive game. Yes, there is combat, but this is something that is basically hidden in the game. So, but it definitely Wingspan looks completely different from the size. So you see, maybe it is because of the target audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole color scheme and the bird on the cover is just like a very friendly, welcoming look.
Yes,
Like more than like yeah, I think Scythe is appealing to a very specific group of people.
it is.
Clearly a very large group of people. They've sold a lot of
Absolutely,
Scythe
absolutely.
games.
So you see what I know. So I just criticize the graphic design, and you see how successful this is. So what do I know?
Right.
And briefly, I have to welcome a couple of people. So we are having the podfather of gaming, Stephen, is here,
Oh, hey,
and he is
Steven.
welcoming you and telling Elizabeth, you're the best. Happy to see you.
Oh.
Yeah, and we have Mo here, the designer from the Coast, and we have Claude from Quebec here. So good to see you all. And if I'm now missing some of you, haven't mentioned you, you know that I'm not doing this on purpose. But well, maybe. So back to our topic here. So, but you could also say, yes, there are different games. There are different target customer groups. But why is diversity in games, in gaming important? Why is it important to you, in your opinion? What are the main reasons?
I think we've touched on a lot of them, but maybe not directly. So diversity in the sense of like I want those women walking into your conventions to not feel like everyone's looking at them because they're a weirdo,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because that is a lousy feeling to have. And so once you have enough people who look like you in the room when you walk into a big gaming space, then you just walk in and you're like, oh, obviously I belong here. Um, and that is very true in some gaming spaces right now. Like my local game store, Labyrinth in DC, if you walk in, there's people of all different races, different genders, transgender folks, like lots of diversity in that crowd, and like you walk in and it just feels like this amazing
Yeah.
diverse space and anyone belongs there, right? And they've been very intentional about cultivating that kind of community. um, I've seen more and more diversity when I go to game design events, but I think it's lagging behind what I'm seeing in gaming events, right? Because
Yes.
designers come from
Yeah.
the set of people that are really enthusiastic about games, right? So the
Yeah.
extent that like over the last 5 years, gaming spaces or 10 years have gotten more diverse, the the design events are going to lag that by 5 or 10 years. But I have seen like at Unpub in Baltimore, which is my closest really big playtesting convention and get hundreds of designers.
Hmm.
Um, it's gotten noticeably more women over the last few years, slightly more people of color, but they are still definitely in the minority. Um, and we've done intentional stuff at Unpub too, where like the all the women that were going to Unpub tried to find each other ahead of time, and we like set up a breakfast
Very good.
for all the women at Unpub toward the beginning of the event, so we would all know each other because it was maybe 20% women this year, and this past God,
Hmm.
2019 now.
Yeah.
This year has
Ancient
just gone
ancient
by quickly.
times.
But when you're 20% of the crowd, it's very easy to like not see any other women really around you and feel a little isolated. But if you met everyone at the beginning of the event and you know they're out there and looking out for each other, it can feel
Yes.
really supportive in a different way. So even just little things like that, like making sure people get to meet each other, that can make a difference. There's programs like when we were at BGG Con and Tabletop Network
Hmm.
last year, right, in
Hmm.
2019, they set up a thing where they paid for people from underrepresented
Yes.
backgrounds to come to this design contest.
Hmm.
They hooked them up with mentors so that they would
Hmm.
get introduced around, and really make those connections. Because once you've met a few people and gotten connected into the community, I think it becomes much easier to be in the minority. But making it past that first barrier of walking into the room and not knowing anyone and feeling like an oddball
Yeah. I,
can be
I
really hard.
I agree 100%, and we have to see that it's not only designers, it's everywhere in the gaming industry. And of course, it's the gaming industry is not living in isolation or existing in isolation. So we have in most companies, or at least in the companies which have more than one person, one which have a couple of employees. We have men at the top, editors. It's not only the designers; it's the editors, mainly men. It's getting better. It's getting better everywhere. But here in Germany, still the majority of women developers, editors are doing kids games and the light family stuff. We are we have very few editors who are doing the more complex games, or as we call them, Kennerspiele or Expertenspiele. And the jury game of the year here, they have 2 women out of 10. But at least one of the women retired this summer, so they had a replacement. Martina Fuchs is now in there, and she is not only playing lots of complex games, she's also a wargamer. We have played together some games. She's playing Here I Stand for 6 hours or more. So it is changing, but it's
Yeah.
it's taking time. It's
Yeah.
really taking time. And what you said, Elizabeth, here is confirmed by Matt Wolf again. He's saying definitely agree with the demographic shift at Unpub. It's came a long way from Unpub 4, which was Matt's first time attending. Unpub 9 was so much better due to the increase in diversity. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
you see, it takes times and it will take years. But we cannot say, well, right now it's not really ideal, but we'll wait for 10 years. We have to do something actively to change this. You know?
Right. One of the other proactive things that I've seen publishers doing is to really acknowledge, I think publishers have the incentive to work with people who have already published games, right? They
Absolutely.
come with their own audience, and there's a lot of risk in publishing games, right? So I
Yes.
totally understand that there's a strong business case for working with designers who have already published games. That being said, when most of the published games are by men, if you are only working with designers that have already published a game, you are locking in the
Yeah.
status quo. And
Absolutely.
so like some publishers have started really thinking about that and doing more outreach and looking for more new designers. Mariposa's ended up with Alderac because they put out a specific request for women designed games.
Wonderful.
And this was before Wingspan came out. I sent them Mariposas just because I thought that that was really cool that they did that and wanted to
Mm-hmm.
participate in that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, things like that I think will also move the ball a little bit.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. It will take time, but it's slowly starting. But we have to be active in all sectors. And at least my feeling is that when I play games with women, when I have regular scheduled gaming sessions or not scheduled sessions, that women often lean to shorter games, especially when we are
Mm.
playing in the evenings. But my understanding is that's because nowadays, in at least in modern societies, women work full time as well, and then they still, of course, we are always saying we men, we do 50% of the stuff at home. And we do 50% if you have kids with the kids, but is it maybe because women still do 60, 70, 80% of this on the side? So is it less time that women are having, or how do you see this, Elizabeth?
I I don't know that there's great data out there, but that is definitely the experience I see among a lot of my friends.
Mm.
That the guys somehow still have energy at the end of the day, and the women like go to put their kids down for bed and never come back because they're exhausted,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. There's a little bit of data in the United States that women spend more time on childcare than men. And there's also I don't know how scientific the study is, but people have done a fair amount of writing on like the idea that the work that women do with the kids is different and that they're doing a lot more of the planning and what people call emotional labor
Yeah.
of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like my best friends who were big gamers before they had kids, the kids just automatically always ask their mom for whatever they want, or need.
Yeah.
They don't think to go to their dad, and that
Mm.
happens throughout the day, even though dad is perfectly willing to do the stuff for them. I don't know how that dynamic evolves
Mm.
in a family, but I think it does still happen in a lot of families. And so the dad may put in an equal amount of time running them around in the
Mm.
car to go to things or playing sports on the weekend or whatever. But just in terms of like how much of your brain power gets
Yeah.
taken up by having kids every day, among my friends, I think the women are more exhausted by the kids by the end of the day.
Yeah, and here in when I'm thinking about my friends, so male friends, I see that everybody, but also including me, we have our fixed hobby time. We have our hobby time. So in this time we are not doing anything else. So if I have my hobby time, I'm gaming or I'm reading or I'm biking outside, depending on the weather. But it's something that I really have fixed in my calendar, and I think this is also, although of course this is not a statistical evidence, I think this is true for a lot of men, that we have our thing. We are not disturbed now. We are doing this, and it's, yeah. And there's Chris in the chat. Chris is late here now. This is no. He's saying sorry, I'm late. No, I'm not. This is not an apology. You're simply late here. But I want to scroll back here because I saw a couple of comments and also questions. So Spieletreffenverteiler here from Germany. I think it's Oliver. I may be wrong. He is again praising Wingspan. Flügelschlag, as you know, Elizabeth, is a
Yeah.
German title, and he's saying that he had a lot of fun with playing this game on the terrace in summer 2019. So he's saying a very, very good game. Um, and then there is this brute, Matt Wolf again. So he is having another very nice question. Where do you keep your Spiel des Jahres Pommel? If I had one, I would always have it in camera frame. So where is it? Where is it? Where are you hiding it?
It's downstairs with my games, and my office is upstairs. But I have been thinking about building some shelves up here, and I would probably move it up so that it could be on camera because I do have to say I enjoy looking at it.
And this is deserved. I can totally understand. So
I
good
also have a
question.
shadow box that I put my 8 Board Game Geek medals in.
Yeah, you see, Matt, it's all there. It's just not here. It's all there. Yeah, before we finish this episode, Elizabeth, I have three quick questions to you. And so, what is your favorite bird?
I always say the roseate spoonbill. It's hard to pick, but I get asked this question a lot, so I had to just pick one. And the roseate spoonbill, for anyone who has played Wingspan, will know it, right? It's like this
Yes.
big water bird with a crazy beak that has a spoon on the
Yes,
end of
yes.
it,
So,
and they're just like a wonder of evolution. Like, how did that happen?
yeah,
Right?
my favorite one, and I saw this on, of course, on YouTube. Where else? A couple of years ago, it's from Australia. I think it's called this lyrebird because they are so
Yeah.
good with their voices. So really, that there was a bird that apparently lived for a certain time among some people who did work, and so the noises were like somebody had a hammer, bing, bing, bing. So
Yeah, the
it is,
chainsaw,
yeah.
right?
So and
I've
I
seen
was
that.
sitting like this. If I'd be Trump, I would say fake news. No bird can do this. But well, so that
Yeah.
was really wonderful. So
Well,
second,
now you have to get the Oceania expansion because it's in there.
so, so you see, Elizabeth is so smart. She's asking. So everybody buying, if you don't have it right now, buying the Oceania expansion to Wingspan. But second question, and this I know this is hard to determine. What is your single most favorite game, Elizabeth?
Oh, that is hard.
Can you say so, or is it too difficult?
I
Right
don't
now,
know. I don't remember what I said would be the one game that I kept if and 5 games for Tuesday. I think I said
no,
Wingspan, but that's not my favorite. Like I can't say my own game is my favorite game,
you
but it is
can.
the
So
one
I
that if
just
I
have
were
to
like
adjust this. Yes. Okay.
saving things from the apocalypse, I would save Wingspan. But um I either Race for the Galaxy or Castles of Burgundy. I think those two are the ones that I've been playing the longest and still enjoy playing, and always happy to play them.
And you see, both are great choices. Although, in my opinion, Race for the Galaxy is the better game, but this is just me. But you see, how the audience is really intelligent and takes note because Rainer said it's you said Race for the Galaxy, so
Oh,
so
okay.
he was picking that that one. So. Nothing is unanswered here. But now the final question, and this one, of course, is very important. So, what is Elizabeth? What is your favorite hockey team?
So, I have never watched a hockey game in my life, but I hear there's a team called the Iserlohn Roosters.
Wonderful. The correct
And
answer.
since they are named after a bird, I think I have to
Yeah,
root for them.
exactly. Because there is a bird included. So this was the correct answer. And it is amazing how popular the roosters here. You know, 2 weeks ago there were two guys from Portugal who mentioned favorite hockey team Iserlohn Roosters, and now it's Elizabeth from the US. So you see, this team really rocks. So let me just see. Is there anything else here? Oliver is saying my favorite bird is a roadrunner from the comic series Roadrunner and Coyote. Yes, that is also a very very nice one.
So
Um,
I have a fun fact, if you don't mind, about the Roadrunner, which is
please, please.
there's this app that you can get called Wing Song, where someone made it so that you can hold your phone over each wingspan card and it will play the bird song of that bird. And there's a special sound for the Roadrunner.
So you can also do this. So, oh, wow.
So they use the cartoon Roadrunner sound for the Wing Song app.
Very nice. So you see, Oliver, so you have to check out this app. Although he mentioned his favorite team is Bietigheim Steelers. So I don't listen. I don't watch this chat window here anymore anyway. So Elizabeth, thank you very much for your time. It was really my pleasure having you as my guest. And if you want to know more about this very important topic, diversity in gaming, check out her website. The URL has been posted because there are a lot more interviews. Because in 30 minutes, of course, you cannot really talk about all aspects of diversity in gaming. And Elizabeth over there, have a great time. Bring us all more enjoyment with your great games, and please keep your smile in your face. So this is such a positive feature. And to anybody else, thank you for your time. If you would like to have a special topic discussed in advance or have a specific question, please drop me a mail at uli@spielworxx.de. That is uli@spielworxx.de. And till then, bleibt gesund. Black Lives Matter. And before I forget, you see, I'm always forgetting some things. Next week, we will have another two guests here. It's Mo and Lyndon, the designers of the cost. And of course, we will be talking about the cost. And again, Elizabeth, thanks a lot. Okay?
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.